What's going on, YouTube? It's your favorite expat, Rocky, in real time. And today, speaking of being an expat, I want to teach you 10 or more skills that you should have if you want to become an expat and if you want to become an expert expat. And you know what? I'm going to turn that into a hashtag because I'm not on, these other shit like the passport bros and all that other stuff. Yeah, I critique them sometimes because they critique a lot of things. And I think if you critique things, you should be open to being critiqued. But yeah, I actually live here. I'm living here legally. I'm making quite a decent sum of money and I'm able to do a lot more now. Like I'm able to just delegate things to different, entities to help them do things for me, like fixing my credit. I'm trying to have it in the 800s, even though it's in the mid 700s right now. Like I'm trying to do things like buy property, both here and in the United States, because I'm saving all this extra money. My channel is really just, about teaching people how to level up in so many different areas of their lives by becoming an expat. And a lot of that starts financially because like once you live in a country where the expenses are a lot, lower than the United States, and the quality of life, you're not really sacrificing that at all. You're like actually increasing your quality of life. And you're able to work remotely, either having some business or having some job, or in my case, multiple jobs. You're going to see that you're going to be able to do a lot of things that you've never done before. You're going to start employing a lot of different professionals that you've never employed before. Like I get weekly back massages because I work a lot. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm working like 12 hours a day because I'm doing my side business where I teach software engineering courses and I'm working two jobs. So that can be kind of strenuous on my body. So I hire, a chiropractor or, massage therapist, and I get massages like once a week. So, and these are things that I didn't really like have, I guess, I'd say like the money for to do every week in the United States. Even if you're making a lot of money there, that those professionals are expensive over there. So, yeah, being an expat, you can level up and just, improve your life in so many ways, but you're going to need certain skills to get there. So before I go into a deep rant about, how you can just change your life and how my life has changed by being an expat, I want to teach you the skills that you need because a lot of people are moving funny out here. Like they're getting kicked out of countries. Like they're making all these silly videos of them and their interactions with locals. And I want you guys to come here, consume information that's going to help you be a more refined traveler. Like I said, an expert expat, right? So I'm going to go into a bunch of the skills. I literally just jotted this down, like, before making this video, because like I said, I've lived all these things. And because I've lived all these things, all my content is up here. The only thing is that I just sometimes don't have the time to edit and post as much as I would like. But this game has to come out. It has to, be given to the world because I don't see anyone else talking about this on the level and on the, sort of like, I don't know, intellectual level, if you would, that I am. And it needs to be said. It really needs to be said because a lot of people would benefit from this information. So if you hear this somewhere else, recycled and remixed, just know where you heard it first, right? Or check the date when I post this and then check theirs because I probably said it first, right? Anyway, let's get into these skills. So what are these skills that you need to become an expat or that you should have as an expat? The first thing is your money making skills. Whatever is bringing you the bacon, you need to not only have that skill, but continue to refine it, optimize processes, make things more seamless and easier for you to work, right? So I'll give you an example. If you have some sort of business where you're selling digital products, maybe you can use some sort of AI tools. There's a bunch of them to optimize your business processes. Maybe you have to make shorts or videos and things like that. You can use a lot of content creating tools like Beautiful AI, which helps you make slides, or Pictory, which helps you make videos like with what they call it, stock videos. Like they just throw stock videos from a paragraph of text or a YouTube script that you give it, and it'll literally make a montage video of stock videos. So you don't have to go off and make or find videos or make B-roll. you can just have this stock video for you, and you could probably mix it in with your own B-roll or stuff that you get from other stock video sites. So it's a way of optimizing your process. So like if you're making money and you're making money online, find ways to optimize it, find ways to make it better. And if you're working for someone, there's ways that you can work for someone and optimize those processes. Like I have ways in which I balance between my two jobs, like going from one computer and then going to the next computer. I have mouse jigglers. Like literally I have, things that help me keep myself, my profile and stuff active on Teams. I like literally have a schedule. I have my Pomodoro timer. I've shown this in multiple videos where I time box my time. I usually like the 60-minute timer. I come work with one employer here and another employer there. So I have other apps that I use like Notion. I think I've talked about Notion before. It's a really, really great app that helps me like stay organized. I put my to-do list and all that other stuff. So I find ways to optimize this, and I run this like a business, right? I make sure I don't give any time to these employers more than I should be or more than I need to. And I make sure that I hand in my deliverables and I'm on my shit, right? So that's number one, increasing your aptitude in business or work in making these processes more optimized so that you can do things faster and quicker and you have to worry about it less, right? The second skill, which kind of coincides with, the first one, and all these skills really, they move in tandem with each other. They don't live in isolation at all. Like you kind of need one skill to improve the other and vice versa. So these skills don't live in isolation. They like kind of work and mesh well together. The other skill is time management, man. You have to know how to manage your time. And it's not like just improving the way you get things done on a daily basis or, making sure you knock out all the items on your to-do list or like making sure you're not wasting too much time scrolling on social media. It's also because you're an expat and because you're probably living in some country that's far away, you're probably living in two different time zones or a different time zone than, your origin country. And you might be either working for someone or working for companies in different time zone or have clients. If you have a business, you have clients in, different countries or different time zones. You're doing consultancy work or whatever. Maybe you have online consultations for your business. Unless you're selling a digital product and it's doing really, really well to where you can just like kind of set it and forget it, then yeah, that works. But even with that, because behind the scenes, a lot of these people who sell digital products, they use sites like Upwork and Fiverr to hire professionals that they have to work with to either optimize or improve their products, or your product might have like an FAQ section on the website or something, or you might have some sort of, community like Discord or Slack that you manage that, this digital product sort of kind of supports or whatever. And you might need a moderator. So you have to check in with that moderator, answer questions. So even though, it's kind of passive, I know people who have digital products. I know people who have businesses. None of this shit is really, really passive, like 100% passive. It's not 100% passive. You're still going to have to come in and do your little, few hours a week of management and making sure the wheels are turning. So you got to manage your time, basically. So if you're managing other people, you have to manage your time. You're managing a job, you're managing, different personalities. You have to know how to manage your time. You're managing your, time in a different time zone. You have to know when to wake up. You have to know when to submit things. You have to know when to give clients their work that they, are employing you for, when to show up for consultations. So you have to know how to manage your time. It's an essential skill. So definitely something that you should know how to do at an expert level as an expat, right? Another thing that goes and coincides with management is money management, right? You're in a new world. You're, still adjusting and you're still acclimating to being in a new country. So you don't want to be breaking the bank, even if you're making it, right? You don't want to be spending so much, money frivolously, right? Because especially if you have a business, you don't have a guaranteed check. like you're definitely not working for someone, but like you might fluctuate. Some months you might make only $4,000, and some months you might make 6, 7, maybe upwards of 10K, and some months you might not make even 2K. You know what I mean? Or anything. So you might be in a hole. You might actually spend more, or might be having a lot more business expenses than you're bringing in revenue. So especially in the beginning. So, you definitely need to know how to manage your money. That's like essential. Know how to build your credit and know basic things. You don't have to be a super expert, but know some basic things about building credit, right? For me, I just learned a lot about the basics, skim through the free and fair credit reporting act. I didn't read the whole thing. I just read like certain sections that stood out to me and kind of learned the ins and outs of like, the basics of credit. And then now that I have more money, I employ a company to just fix my credit, right? Because I want the 800s. Like I want the best I can get. So I did what I could do on my own. And then I employed someone to do, the rest for me. I also sought consultations for like, investment portfolio management as well. Like you should absolutely seek that out. Like first, try and learn as much as you can for free or through books that you might get, or like, are recommended as bestsellers on Amazon or wherever you find this information. Try and find the information for free or low cost, and before you hire a professional. So for me, I ended up finding out, and just, through my research, I just saw that having someone to manage your portfolio at a rate of like 3% just wasn't really worth it for me, especially as my portfolio grows, because I'm not like an active investor. I'm more of a passive investor, like someone who sets it and forgets it. So anything I'm investing in, I'm going to sort of have done my due diligence and research about. So I don't really need someone to really manage it for me. So I just like kind of just, set it, like I said, set it and forget it. And for me, time in the market is better than timing the market. Like you'll hear that in investment a lot. Like, so you have to have skin in the game. So that's my approach. I'm just buying and holding. And as long as my growth in this investment, over time, because, some years, like, especially when like the stock market is down, you might lose some in your portfolio, but it's going to pick back up. So overall, my 20-year or 10-year investment in this stock, in this ETF, in this whatever I'm investing in, as long as it has grown substantially from my initial investment, I'm cool, right? Yeah, so you have to know how to do your taxes as well. Like you have to be like up with your taxes, especially because you're living in another country. You might forget to do your taxes one year or something like that. Set reminders. Make sure you check in with tax professionals. You can do this remotely now. Find someone that is familiar with the tax law in wherever your local city or county is, and, just file taxes with them. And also try and understand whatever tax system you might be living in now. Like for me, I know now that I have a Brazilian bank account, and now that I'm like, starting to put money in that account so that I can have money in that account ready for when I want to buy a house here, which is going to happen within the next 2 years. I'm paying taxes on that. I have to file taxes as well because my wife filed taxes. Then, since I'm married to a national and I have an account, and because of all these other intricate little tax laws that I actually sat down with a Brazilian professional and talked to her about, me and my wife, we talked to her about these things. I'm going to have to pay taxes as well. So managing your money both in your country of origin and in your new home is essential. You're going to have to employ people for that. Don't ever try and do that yourself. You're worrying about a lot as an expat. So you don't want to have to worry about too much. Try and take some things off your hands by delegating some responsibilities or some of your tasks to professionals who do this for a living. Trust me, because you don't want to mess up your taxes in the States, definitely not in the States or here, and end up owing or something, and you could have probably just avoided that by hiring a professional. So know how to manage your taxes, your money, find deals, know the ins and outs of, just different ways of like not only just being frugal, but like in growing your investments over time, right? Another big skill that you need as an expat is knowing how to assimilate, knowing how to blend in. Like I've talked about this in one of my very first videos, and I do this very well. So much so that A lot of people don't even think I'm like a gringo from the United States or from a first world country. A lot of people think I'm Angolan because I speak Portuguese pretty well. And I'm dark skinned. I'm a dark skinned black man with, coarse hair. So I look very like African, sub-Saharan African. Of course, I am sub-Saharan African. So a lot of people assume that I'm from Angola because Brazil gets a lot of Angolan migrants, and Angola was colonized by the Portuguese. So is Mozambique. I get Mozambique a lot too. So some people might think, okay, because they hear my Portuguese and they don't really hear Americans speak fluent Portuguese, like actual fluent Portuguese, like actual having meaningful conversations, not just some basic ass sentences and whatever pieced together and put in the video. No, I'm talking about actual meaningful conversations. They don't actually hear that from a lot of gringos, so it throws them off when I tell them I'm American. But yeah, that just goes to show you how well I've assimilated. And it's not just the language. You have to understand the culture and be culturally aware of things. Like, you have to know what the severity of doing certain things or not doing certain things is in your culture, versus your own, like your own culture. It might be okay or to do something like in American or British or wherever you're from. It might be okay to do certain things there, but in your new country, it might be like totally like taboo or something to, do that thing there. So be culturally aware and sensitive to some things that you might not understand, or you might have to learn more about, right? Know social etiquette as well, know political climate and taboos. So those are things that you have to be aware of to assimilate. You have to know these little tidbits of information about the culture and the environment, the immediate environment that you're around, to be able to sort of blend in better. Also, I mentioned this a little bit, but learning a language, but I had to make it its own point because it's so important. Learning the language on a deeper level is something that you should absolutely have skills in. And spoiler alert, or I guess whatever, content alert, I'm going to make a very complete video on how to learn Portuguese effectively. And it's going to be one of the best videos on this topic on YouTube. Like, I've been studying the polyglot community on YouTube, and I've been studying the linguist and language learning community. And I've picked up so much game from them over the past like 2.5, 3+ years. Right. And also just my own experimentation and learning, especially learning from my wife, like, seeing what she mistakes, because there's certain mistakes that she makes in English because she's like translating it literally from Portuguese. And because she makes those mistakes, I now learn how to say something in Portuguese, right? For instance, one thing she's made a mistake in before is, she said, instead of I want to mop the floor, she said she wants to pass the floor. Like, the verb passar is used for a lot of things. Like, you can passar cream no seu corpo, like rub cream on your body. We have different words for a lot of things, right? Like rub, clean, wipe. But the verb passar is used for a lot. So that's something I learned. And you're going to have to make these deep connections with people, watch TV, use apps, read magazines, read blogs, keep up with social media. You're going to have to do a lot to learn a language. It's not something that's super easy. You're going to have to be committed, right? So yeah, definitely watch out for that video. But this is a big tip. Know how to deconstruct a language and learn it. Especially in relation to your own, because learning a Germanic language is different from learning a Romance language, is different from learning a Slavic language, is different from learning in one of the Baltic or East Asian languages. So, and those are just language categories. Don't get bogged down by the technical terms. Like I said, I've been in the polyglot community just picking up information and stuff. But yeah, so just know that, there's different language families, and you as an English speaker, you have an advantage learning certain languages, like Romance languages, like 30% of English is like French, and like another 10 or 15% is like Latin, or like, a combination of these Romance languages. So you coming from English, a lot of the words are going to be, cognates, what they call them. So I can talk about this all night, but that's going to be a separate video. But just know that you need to know how to learn a language, deconstruct it, so that you can communicate on a higher level in your target country, in your new country. On to the next tip. And this is something that a lot of Americans really struggle with. And it's something super imperative. And I'm like, you have to understand this. You have to understand basic geography. Like, you'd be surprised how many Americans don't understand the proximity of some countries to others, even like where certain countries are on a map, or like, you know what I mean? Even just certain flags or something, or like just different things, like just geographically, like they just don't have an understanding of. So definitely do not fit that American stereotype of being ethnocentric and not knowing anything about the world. Prove them wrong. Let them say, okay, hey, it's such an amazing feeling when like people like learn that I'm American and they're just like, oh, you're different. Like, you kind of know a lot about Brazil, like way more than I've ever seen any gringo really kind of know. It's very rare, and you want to be in that rare segment because they'll respect you a whole lot more in whatever country. And it doesn't have to be Brazil. You could be wanting to be an expat in another country. A lot of the tips I have on this channel are going to be universal in becoming an expat, right? So you want to have that level of respect with the locals, because let me tell you, when you have that level of respect, they'll open up to you, show you things. You learn so much from them, and your experience in your new country will just be that much better because they feel that much closer to you because you've taken the time to sort of learn about them and learn about things geographically in their country. Right. So know some basic geography because it's going to help you a lot. Even just getting around, like, even whatever city you're living in, even I know Salvador geography pretty okay. I can drive around, maybe get a little lost, and then still find my way home because like I know the geography of this place. So yeah, definitely know the geography. Next tip, and this is kind of along, like I said, none of these tips live in like complete isolation. It's kind of going in tandem with the previous tip, is knowing basic geographical or basic geopolitical, having a basic geopolitical understanding. So, knowing what the world powers are, how they became world powers, and what prevented countries like Brazil or other countries from becoming world powers. What are their economic challenges? Understand the different sort of economic alliances like the G7, like the BRICS. Understand like OPEC countries. Understand like ECOWAS countries if you're in Africa. Understand certain imperialist structures, neo-colonial structures like China, and how they're leveraging their business and their sort of deals and, the money that they lend to people to sort of have their hand in like so many different countries around the world. You want to be aware of these certain geopolitical structures and things that are going on, because you need to understand the new country that you're in and how their place in a geopolitical space kind of affects you as an expat living in that country, and how that country kind of relates to your country of origin, and just how it relates to other countries around you. Like, okay, take Brazil for example. It's the biggest economy in Latin America, and like a lot of countries sort of like depend, trade, and rely on it. And it's really, really big. It's spatially is huge, right? I think it takes up overall like 5.6% of the Earth's sort of, area. And that's really, really big considering that the United States takes up like 6.1%. So you got to know these things. You got to know like geopolitical sort of like structures. Like, it helps you out a lot. And, you might have some political discussions, or like you might start to understand the politics of your country that you're living in, your new country. So just being able to have conversations about this, or just have a basic understanding, like understanding something like this. This is something random I just thought of right now. Like understanding that Brazil has one of the highest rates of hyperinflation in the BRICS countries, right? Like something that you paid 20 reais for might be 40 reais in like 2 months, 3 months down the line. And you have to understand why that is, and like understand its relation to other countries that, hey, they might, sell homegrown goods more to China or Russia or other countries at, instead of like selling it to themselves, because they can get, the farmers and whatever can get more by selling it to other countries or to, overseas countries than they get from the locals. And that's going to affect the local price and the local economy for whatever this good is, whether it's chickens or whatever. So understand those things, right? Ooh, contact's a little dry. All right. Next is your organization skills. Your life is now between two different countries, so you have to be organized. Your documents have to be organized. For me, I have a storage unit, so sometimes I'm, bringing things back from the United States on one of my trips, or maybe I might not need something here anymore and I have to take it back home or whatever. I have to figure out what documents I need here, what documents I should keep over there. You got to know how you're going to balance, like, health insurance. As an expat, you're going to need to balance multiple tax systems. I've, kind of alluded this in one of my first points. And you're going to have to also work with two different bureaucracies. So understand that you need to stay organized to stay on top of things. So that's, you're going to have to stay on the top of your visas, your paperwork, and all that other stuff. So make sure you stay organized. That's imperative. Next skill you're going to need is you're going to be in a new country. You're going to be learning so much, and it might be vastly different from what you already know and what you're already used to. So you're going to need to keep an open mind and just be flexible. Be flexible in your understanding of the place that you're in now. For me, is Brazil. So I have to be flexible in understanding this place, because I might think I know about something, but I might not know anything about it at all. Because I find out something about it the next day, which challenges everything I know. And I have to relearn and understand that, hey, listen, I should be flexible because I'm learning so much at such a fast rate. And it's different. It's a lot of things you've seen, have been programmed into you. You've had these misconceptions, or even just fallacies that you've believed over your lifetime because you've seen things through the media in your home country and about your target country. So when you get to your target country, you're a lot of things I've read about or kind of, thought to be true before coming here aren't true. So you just got to keep a flexible and open mind. Next is you're going to have to increase your social skills because you're adapting to a new environment. So you need allies. You need people who are going to teach you things, show you things. You need people who are going to just be friends with you. Just having friends is just, something you should seek out to do. And I say friends, I don't mean other expats. And yes, you should have other expats because their experience is going to be vastly different from the experience of the locals. So yeah, you should have expats as friends, but try and prioritize making friends with locals because you'll learn so much more about the country you're living in from locals than you will from expats, because there's 1,000 more things that the locals know that the expats don't know. So even just language tips or how to get around or just different things that can help you adjust to where you're living. You're going to learn that a lot more from locals than you would from expats. So you're going to have to come out of your shell if you're sort of an introvert, because you're going to have to learn a lot, and you can learn best from people and people who have been here their whole lives. Yes, you're going to have to come out of that shell. So try and develop your social skills. I'm not saying you got to be a social butterfly or life of the party, but try and have conversations and don't be shy to sort of speak up and make connections when you can, especially if you're in a place like a co-working space. I go to co-working spaces now, and I'm meeting people there who are into different types of businesses. They're establishing different types of businesses right here in Salvador. So this is and I'm someone has side hustles and side, and hobbies that I pursue in sort of a business way. So that's a perfect place to meet like-minded people. You might do something else that you're totally engrossed in, like kickboxing or boxing or whatever, or, maybe surfing. And there's a lot of that out here. So try and join some of those communities, learn about just anything you can from them, and just try and make valuable connections here. So you're going to need to improve your social skills. Next is staying up to date with the local news and just the happenings in the country. For me, I kill two birds with one stone every morning by cutting on the news and watching it during breakfast. What that does for me is, number one, like, I'm learning Portuguese because, I'm here, and because I work remote, sometimes I don't go outside for the whole day, right? So I need a way of sort of keeping my language learning skills fresh, because this is my second language. So like, I'm always going to be, and you're going to find that out as you learn another language or multiple languages, that there's no end to the learning. You're going to keep on learning. It's a continuous process. So I cut on the news, and like, not only do I learn, but I also learn about what's going on in the country, and like things that are happening currently, current events, political things, social things, anything that is happening. Like, I just need to know because I'm living here. I'm probably going to like raise my kids for part of their life here. So like, I have to be in the know. So knowing what's going on and just keeping up with local and sort of like international news as well. You might want to keep up with what's going on back home as well. Is something important that you have to do and have a skill of doing it. And the last thing that I have on this list is being autonomous, right? You're in a new country. You're being just bombarded with all types of new stimuli, whether it's the music, the language, whatever it is. So you need to know how to do things on your own, whether it's go places and speak to people, whether it's, handling like just basic things like getting certain documents and getting through, different processes in the best way possible, according to how things are done in the, your new country. You need to figure these things out. You need to figure out the everyday things, the practical things, and you need to know how to live with those things and know how to maneuver those things. Some of those things might be tedious to manage or easier to manage. So, just based on you being in a new country, just depending on what that thing is. But these things are going to fit into your life on a daily. They're going to like be a part of your life on a daily. So you got to know how to manage that. You got to know how to manage all these either small things or bigger things that you might be confronted with. And you need to know how to deal with like loneliness as well, because especially if you're here alone and you're, like I was here alone for like my first year or so. Like, I mean, I was dating and, I was dating my wife at the time as well. But, I was kind of on my own, and I'm never really bothered by being alone. I actually thrive alone. So I was never really like, too worried about being alone. But you might not be like that. You might be someone who needs people around them. And, if you don't speak the language fluently and you don't know too much about the country, you're kind of going to be restricted from like, doing a lot of things because you can't speak the language, or you're not as connected yet with the country. For instance, like driving far distances, like if you know how to drive and you drive a lot, or you like driving a lot, like if you can't read road signs, right? Or just know how you should drive in a country like Brazil or whatever country you want to like live in, then I wouldn't advise driving yet. Like, you got to understand certain things. Somewhere like Brazil, for instance, right? They have a lot of road accidents here. That's like a thing here. That's like one of the things here about this country. Like, samba's a thing, football's a thing, road accidents are a thing. So that's something that you have to be aware of, and know that like when you're going between, larger cities or interstate lines, that you have to be careful driving behind trucks that are carrying cargo, or, larger trucks or whatever, because a lot of these truck drivers are on amphetamine. That's like a thing out here. Like they take amphetamine to stay awake, to drive these long distances and haul these things. That was a part of a news article I read here. I'll probably try and clip it to this video, but like, those are those little things that you might not be aware of, that, that kind of can affect your stay here. Like, it's not as safe as driving in the United States. Not saying it's like completely unsafe, but I'm saying it's something that living alone, you're going to need to know how to manage. Like, you might not want to not tell anybody that you're driving 3-4 hours alone in Brazil or something, which is something that, I've done before, but I realized like, yo, like after I learned about like the gravity of like, you know, and the severity really of like road accidents here, I'm like, yo, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to text my sister back home, share my location, you know, tell people essentially, like communicate about my movements. So because I'm alone. So there's the things that you're going to have to like understand and know about just being autonomous. And really that was the last point. So those are some of the things I've just learned about being an expat here. And I feel like those skills are very, very important for you, adjusting and coming to a new country, because without these skills, it's going to be like really tough to adjust. It's going to be really tough to adjust. So I want you to be able to thug it out and stick it through, like, and be able to like live here or wherever you're trying to live for a substantially long time, or for the rest of your life, if that's what you want to do. And do it well, and do it in a way that you are, just maneuvering the country with some expertise. You're an expert expat. Let's turn that into a hashtag, expert expats. That's what I'm going to, try and instill in you guys. Like, I want you guys to be expert expats. So that's it. That's really it. I'm not going to rant too much because, like I said, I'm passionate about this stuff. So I can talk about it all day. Maybe I'll start doing lives. I don't know. I kind of want to grow my audience and community first before I start interacting with you guys. But let me know if you would like to see a live. I don't know. Maybe I might be, overthinking it. But anyway, that's it for today's video. I'm going to try and get this up as quickly as possible. Let me know if you want to see any other types of content just in the comments below. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video. And if this has been of any value to you, just let me know how I've affected you, or like how you've learned from me and what you'd like to see, because I like those comments. I try and respond to all of them, but like I said, I'm kind of busy sometimes. But without ranting too much, thanks for watching, and you have a good day.